Welcome to World Prism. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more breaking updates. Let's talk about fizzy drinks for a moment. Those cold, bubbly sodas that are a staple at parties, picnics, and just about every family fridge in America. But have you ever stopped to think about the metal cans they come in? Each can is more than just packaging. It's a product of a global supply chain, and its story is about to get a lot more complicated. On February 10, 2025, Donald Trump made headlines by announcing a sweeping 25% tariff on all imported aluminum and steel, a move that instantly grabbed the world's attention. This was a major escalation in the ongoing trade tensions, especially aimed at China, and it sent shockwaves through American industries that depend on these metals every day. Suddenly, companies that rely on aluminum, like car makers, beverage giants, and even small craft breweries, were staring down the barrel of much higher costs for their essential materials. Coca-Cola's CEO, James Quincy, didn't waste any time. The very next day, he made it clear, if aluminum cans get pricier, the company will simply shift to using more plastic bottles. A move that could reshape the beverage industry. This blunt threat revealed just how quickly corporations can adapt to protect their profits, even if it means making choices that could have far-reaching consequences for the environment and for consumers. The tariff set off a domino effect, starting from the White House, rippling through the factory floor, and landing right on the supermarket shelf where you make your choices. And the impact didn't stop there. It reached all the way to your recycling bin, or in some cases the landfill, raising new questions about waste and sustainability. It's a perfect example of how a single political act can ripple outwards, changing not just the price, but even the very container for your favorite drink, and forcing all of us to reconsider our everyday choices. What started as a trade move quickly became a story about business strategy, environmental impact, and the tough decisions we all face as consumers in a global economy. Suddenly, the price of a can of Coke wasn't just a local concern, it became a global issue, discussed in boardrooms and newsrooms around the world. And it all began with one dramatic announcement that set off a chain reaction no one could ignore. So, how did this all unfold? Let's dive in and trace the journey from a presidential podium to your next sip of soda. So, what's a tariff? Simply put, it's a tax on imported goods. The goal: make foreign products more expensive, so American companies buy local. For example, if Chinese aluminum is cheaper than American, a tariff levels the playing field. In theory, this protects U.S. jobs and manufacturing. But tariffs are a blunt tool. They help some, but hurt many. Companies that use aluminum, from soda giants to craft brewers, now face higher costs. Often, the country hit with tariffs retaliates, sparking a trade war. Suddenly, American exports get taxed abroad, hurting U.S. businesses. What starts as economic patriotism can spiral into a global squabble with few winners. The result? Uncertainty, higher costs, and a lot of collateral damage. Tariffs rarely go as planned. Let's bring this back to Coca-Cola, one of the world's most iconic brands and a staple in American fridges. When you grab a cold Coke, you probably don't think about global trade, but tariffs can hit closer to home than you realize. About a quarter of all Coca-Cola drinks sold in the U.S. come in aluminum cans. So, when a 25% tariff is slapped on imported aluminum, it means the cost of making each can jumps significantly for Coke and other beverage companies. For a company as massive as Coke, even a tiny increase, just a few cents per can, multiplies into millions of extra dollars in expenses every year. That's a huge hit to their bottom line. So, what can they do? They really have three choices: raise prices for customers, absorb the extra costs themselves, or switch to different packaging altogether. Raising prices might seem simple, but it's risky. If Coke gets more expensive, shoppers might reach for cheaper store brands or other sodas instead, especially when budgets are tight. Absorbing the cost is an option for a giant like Coke, thanks to their deep pockets and global reach. But for small soda companies, those extra costs can be devastating, threatening their survival. The third option? Switch to plastic bottles, which aren't affected by aluminum tariffs. This move can help keep prices stable for customers. For a company like Coke, making this switch is relatively easy. Their bottling partners are equipped to adapt quickly, shifting production lines from cans to bottles almost overnight. But for small craft soda makers, the story is very different. They often lack the resources or flexibility to change packaging or absorb higher costs, making tariffs a real threat to their business. Coke's flexibility is their trump card, letting them dodge some of the pain. But every choice has consequences, and not all companies can adapt so easily. When a big player like Coke makes a business decision to avoid tariffs, it can set off a chain reaction, affecting suppliers, competitors, and even what ends up on your grocery store shelf. And the biggest impact isn't just economic, it's environmental. More plastic bottles mean more waste, and that's a problem for everyone. So, when tariffs hit your six-pack, the effects ripple through the economy, the environment, and even your everyday choices. Let's look at the numbers. Before the tariff, a standard 12-ounce can cost just under 4 cents to make. That's a tiny fraction of the price you pay at the register, but it's a crucial number for beverage companies, who produce millions of cans every single day. The cost of aluminum is one of the most important factors in the soda business, quietly shaping what ends up on store shelves. The new tariff adds about a penny, now it's 5 cents per can. That might not sound like much, but when you multiply it by the billions of cans sold each year, it quickly becomes a major expense for companies both big and small. For a six-pack, that's only 6 cents more. It's a difference most shoppers won't even notice at checkout. But for companies, every cent counts when margins are tight and competition is fierce. For Coca-Cola, with billions of cans sold, those pennies add up to millions. Even a small increase in cost can mean tens of millions of dollars over the course of a year, affecting everything from marketing budgets to product development. But for the average shopper, the price likely won't change. Big brands are reluctant to raise prices and risk losing loyal customers, so they often find ways to absorb the extra cost. Coke can absorb the cost, thanks to its massive profits and global scale. For them, it's a manageable hit, just another line item in a vast budget. Small breweries, though, feel the pinch. A few extra cents per can wipe out their margins. Unlike the giants, they don't have the resources to weather sudden cost increases, and every penny can make or break their business. They can't switch to bottles without major investment. Glass is more expensive, heavier to ship, and requires different equipment, costs that most small brewers simply can't afford. Their only options: eat the cost and hope to survive, or raise prices and risk losing customers to bigger brands. It's a tough choice, and for some, it could mean closing their doors for good. The tariff is a minor nuisance for Coke, but an existential threat for the little guy. It's a classic case of how a small policy change can have vastly different impacts depending on the size of the business, and Coke's solution, more plastic, creates a new problem. As aluminum gets pricier, companies look for cheaper alternatives, and plastic bottles become more attractive. The economics are clear, but the environmental cost is just beginning. More plastic means more waste, more pollution, and bigger challenges for recycling systems already under strain. Here's where things get messy. The true cost of a can of soda isn't just measured in cents, it's measured in the impact on our environment, our communities, and the future of the beverage industry itself. Faced with higher can costs, Coca-Cola threatened to shift to more plastic bottles. From a business perspective, it's logical, they already have the infrastructure. But environmentally, it's a disaster. Aluminum cans are infinitely recyclable, over half get recycled in the US plastic bottles. Only about 29% are recycled, and they're usually downcycled, not remade into new bottles. Most plastic ends up in landfills, incinerators, or as pollution. More plastic means more fossil fuels, more waste, and more microplastics in our environment. Coca-Cola's move to dodge tariffs could worsen the global plastic crisis. It's a classic case of a corporate cost-cutting measure creating hidden costs for everyone else. The company's decision, made to save pennies, could have devastating consequences for the planet. And this isn't a new problem for Coke. Their plastic legacy is already infamous. Let's take a closer look. Coca-Cola has been named the world's top plastic polluter for 6 years running. Volunteers worldwide find more Coke-branded litter than any other. The company once promised to use 50% recycled material by 2030 and collect every bottle or can they sold. But in late 2020, when May 24, they quietly weakened those goals, lowering recycled content targets and scaling back collection promises. Now, with the tariff, they're threatening to use even more plastic. It's a worrying pattern. When profits are at stake, environmental promises take a back seat. The company that helped create the plastic crisis is now poised to make it worse. It's like trying to put out a fire with gasoline. The lesson? Corporate pledges are only as strong as the next financial challenge, and the planet pays the price. So, who really wins in this story? The winners? American aluminum producers and briefly the US government collecting tariff revenue. The losers? Small beverage companies who face higher costs and tougher competition. The biggest loser? The environment, as Coke's shift to plastic means more pollution and waste. Tariffs, meant to help American industry, end up hurting small businesses and the planet. A single political decision ripples through supply chains, boardrooms, and ecosystems. Environmental pledges are easily abandoned when profits are threatened. The humble can of soda is now a symbol of global power, politics, and profit. The future? Uncertain. But one thing's clear: every choice in this chain has consequences far beyond the supermarket shelf. And we're all left to pick up the pieces.